can the average person, like you and me, become wealthy? Something I've been thinking about. What do you think? Yeah, you, right there, on the toilet, or laying in bed, not really asleep yet, kind of watching this video. First, let's talk about why wealth feels so far away from most of us. Then let's actually describe what wealth really means. And finally, we'll talk about how normal people, like me and you, can actually build wealth. Hey, I'm Brendan, and every week you're subscribed here, you'll get a new video about personal finance, maybe some productivity stuff, something there closely related. In the last few years, I've started this journey of learning about personal finance and talking to other people about it, not just here on YouTube, but also in person. And something that I've noticed about everyone who has actually gotten successful and built wealth is they believe it can happen. One person I was talking to at work about this actually said, before, I didn't think it was possible. And he was talking about just building wealth in general, like having investments, building up your net worth, being able to retire. The concept was just on another world. It was for someone else. And this guy has a bachelor's degree, a master's degree, and is in a professional management role. That guy thought that building wealth wasn't for him. And that conversation really made me think about how for most of us, the concept of building wealth just feels so far away. And that brings me back to the beliefs that I've held for the majority of my life. I mean, I was raised in a very modest way on a farm, doing manual labor, and thinking about how is this even possible? How can anybody leap from what feels like a normal beginning to this level of like they have so much money, they have so much wealth or investments or passive income? How is that even started? Let's talk about it. Number one, why does building wealth, and having significant assets feel like such a foreign concept? First off, I think our concept of wealth is largely shaped by what we see in the ultra wealthy and in their trappings of exorbitant living. When you see some profile of a pro athlete who just signed a $150 million deal and they've got their whole garage full of Rolls Royces, or you hear about some other real estate developer who just bought a 20,000 square foot home on the side of a mountain, they feel like completely different people than us or than any of the people that we know that are around us. We think that wealthy means that crazy level, and that is not something that's going to be happening to us. So logically, we must not have a chance at wealth. And building wealth, I think, also feels so far away because we just don't know how to do it. Most of us are probably more focused on like short-term things, paying bills, maybe paying off debt, and just generally surviving. And most people that we hang around don't even talk about ways to build wealth, like realistic ways, legitimate ways. Instead, they either talk about those ultra-rich, crazy wealthy people with a kind of like must-be-nice attitude, or else they just sort of think that it's impossible, that no one can really do it, or they think that the only way for them to even approach the subject is some kind of crazy, ultra high risk, get rich quick psycho scheme that no one should do. Or lottery tickets. People love lottery tickets. And if we're honest, the education system in America is just not equipped to teach us about the basics of financial acumen and wealth building and investing, or in any way really preparing us well beyond basic math, how to handle our finances. So this destination of wealth is both farther than we can see and in a place that we don't know how to navigate to. All right, secondly, what does wealth mean to normal people like you and me? I propose a different definition of wealth here than what you see on the red carpet or in that ultra mansion full of Rolls Royces. Wealthy means having more than enough resources. Enough is what we need to survive, pay bills, do the basics. Wealthy is more than that. So the big question is, what counts as enough? And then what really legitimately counts as more than that? Well, the average American income is about $34,000 a year, and most of us have quite a bit of debt. We're day trading our time for money so that we can have basic food and shelter. But income alone is not a great indicator of wealth. There are plenty of people out there who make well into six figures but are still living paycheck to paycheck, like a lot of people are, because their lifestyle has risen right along with that high paycheck. And in turn, they're not actually that much more secure than the average American with their average income. Another metric for wealth is called net worth, and that's just where you add up everything you own and you subtract out of it everything that you owe. The median net worth is a little bit more accurate and useful than the average because it's not skewed as much by like really rich people. So we'll talk about the median net worth. And for people under 35 in America, that number is $11,100. And by the time people reach sort of a typical retirement age, that's gotten up to $187,300. So those are the averages. Those are kind of the norms, but we want to talk about wealth here. And wealth is something that most people don't have. I think we can all agree on that. Wealth would be that level over and above this median figure. To be in the top sort of 50%, the top half of any age group, you'd need a net worth of $260,000 or more. To be in the richest 20% of American households, you need a net worth of $500,000 or more. I'd say those those numbers are really approaching what it means to be wealthy, but my vision for what a lot of us can really achieve is even greater than that. The funny thing is that when you look at the data, it's really evident where most people's wealth comes from and kind of at what stage in life it comes in. It's in their home. The average American's wealth figures don't ever increase very dramatically. But in my opinion, if I can interpret this data the right way, this is what happens when you've paid on your mortgage long enough to basically pay it off, and what you have left is some money in savings, a little bit in investments, and that's it. So you can see that line is kind of climbing as you pay off that mortgage and the net worth is increasing, but then once it's paid off, it just levels off. And realistically, that's how a mortgage works for most of us. It's not a great investment, it's a forced savings device. So what we need is a simple wealth building machine that can let an average person like me and you even surpass the kind of breakthrough line for that top 20% of Americans when it comes to what wealthy really means. The first thing we need to do as soon as possible is develop a good habit trifecta when it comes to our money, and that is higher pay, lower debt, and saving often. Following those 3 rules from high school age on would be ideal. Starting out with a solid career, staying away from college parties, studying hard, networking, getting apprenticeships or internships, landing a good job, working hard in that job to add more value and get promotions, to set up auto contributions to our investment accounts. To do all of these things at that early stage would mean that you are basically set up for this wealth building machine. As an example, let's just play that out. Let's say that you earned a good amount of money and you invested $500 per month from age 23 all the way to 62. For the sake of easier math, let's say that it just goes straight into your investment account, no fees to factor in, no employer match, no special tax breaks or whatever, and it earns an average of 8% interest over that whole life of the investment. Let's just say that the wise young person you were also bought a $250,000 home, and over the course of your 30s and 40s and 50s, you paid it off. So now you have a $250,000 home owned free and clear. Just from those investments, from $500 a month, and from owning a home that's worth $250,000, your net worth would be $1.7 million. For your age bracket, you would be in the top 10% of Americans. Holy moly. Okay, admittedly, that's a great plan for you young kids, for you Gen Z or whatever the generation is after Gen Z, who are young enough to take that advice, start early, and get off on the right foot. But what about for the rest of us? You know, we're a little later in this game. YouTube's data tells me that the vast majority of people that watch my videos are older than that, and most of you are guys, though thankfully a lot of women are coming along and watching my videos, so thank you women for being here. If anyone has female friends in their life that could get some use out of my videos, please send them over. Let's do a more realistic case study. Let's say you're 10 years older than that first person. You're 30. You just bought your first home recently. Also, your spending habits are less than perfect and they're deeply entrenched. And like the average American, you've got a decent amount of debt between student loans, car loans, the aforementioned mortgage, maybe a couple other personal loans. It's like a really disgusting debt smoothie. You, my friend, are a much harder nut to crack, but not impossible. First, make sure you have an emergency fund set up in a bank account that is saved in cash, especially if something really crazy comes along that's like some kind of worldwide sickness, puts people out of work, if anything like that ever happened. Next, pay off debt aggressively. If you have the luxury of being able to just pick up extra work and earn more money, do it. Number 3, after you've paid off everything with a higher interest rate, let's say anything over 6%, let's get saving and investing hardcore. Forecast ahead the next 5 years or so and figure out the big ticket items that you'll need to pay for. Is there a home repair that you can anticipate? Is your car at 350,000 miles and limps around town like that wounded pigeon? If so, set up an automatic transfer from your bank account to a completely separate bank account, even maybe a different bank, just so that you know that money is set aside for that big ticket item that's coming up. We do this with our future car purchases, and we do this from Wells Fargo Bank to Ally Bank. It's an automatic transfer every month. $500 goes from Wells to Ally. It is allocated in a special savings account that says Next Car Savings. Number 4, invest, invest, invest. If your company has an investment plan where they offer a free match, take it. A lot of times this is an immediate 3 to 5% match as long as you contribute at least that much. This is free money. It's a 100% return. It is like a guaranteed bonus. It is incredible. We've got to take advantage of these company matches. If you're not sure how it works, talk to your HR person this week. Number 5, invest more. The more we invest, the better. Thankfully, we don't have to keep making this decision mentally all the time. We can just set set this on autopilot too. Let's say you went from investing 0% of your income to investing 6% because that was that first jump to get your full company match. That was probably painful because those like $100, $200 that you were used to having are now gone. You're having to readjust. It's rough. But once that settles in and once that becomes your new normal, it's possible to crank that up just a little bit at a time. In those moments when we're doubting those good decisions, we've got to hang in there and remember why we're doing this. Average people like you and like me can become wealthy by doing this. You are changing the history of your family. You are literally rewriting your story by doing this. If you want to invest more over and above what you get from a company match, or your company just doesn't offer any kind of investment matching program whatsoever, a Roth IRA is a great option. However you do it, just try and slowly ratchet up the amount that you increase over time. You don't have to do all this year. You don't have to do it all this month. Think about it in the terms of the next 5 or 10 years. Can you increase that by 1 or 2% every year? A lot of people get a standard like cost of living adjustment raise that's like 2 or 3%. If you can allocate half of that or the whole thing just to your investments, the actual percentage that you invest is going to get huge. I mean, you're going to go from 6% to 8%, 10, 12, 15. I mean, you're going to be up to 20% in no time, which is just a ton of money. And it's going to feel the same to you because your lifestyle has remained the same. Okay, if you're a massive nerd like me and you want to run the numbers, let's do it real quick. Let's say by the time you're 35 years old, you're making $50,000 a year and you hit that magical 20% of your income gets invested every single year. And let's say up to that point, you've been contributing to your 401k, but you don't have a whole lot in there. You've got $5,000. It's not bad. You regularly get kind of 2% raises every year and you keep investing at that 20% rate. Let's say hypothetically that your work matched 100% of your contributions up to your first sort of 3% that went into your 401k. And on average, your investments earned 8% per year. By the time you reach 62 years old, you've got $1.3 million invested. Wow. If you'd have bought that same house that first kid had bought and paid it off, that $250,000 house, that means your net worth is at least $1.55 million. That is just incredible. And it's actually not that complicated in the end for someone like me and you to do it. It just takes that practice. And yes, I spouted out a lot of numbers and a lot of terms, and I've rambled on a lot longer than I planned, so for that I apologize. But overall, those steps are fairly simple. Work hard, save often, pay off that debt, invest as much as you can, set everything on automatic that you can so you never forget, you never have to do that mental math to choose to do it again, and over time slowly ratchet up the amount you invest as you earn more money, keep your standard of living the same, and watch those investments just skyrocket. Boom, millionaire. Boom. Boom. You could be worth multiple times what your neighbors are worth because you've got all of this stashed away secretly. You've got it invested. You're still driving that same old car, but you're a millionaire. You have a new story to tell in your family. You have a new way to lead your family, and you can retire whenever you feel like it because you got 7 figures in the bank. This is a kind of awesome turnaround that I think a lot of Americans can experience. If we decide to get away from debt, to get away from this compulsory feeling that we need to spend money to feel worthwhile, or to compete with the other person at work, or to feel like somehow we're justified in spending so much time at work. Well, I need a reward for that. Let's cut that out and instead let's build up our investments because that's what gives us freedom. That's what changes our family story, and that's what sets up a legacy of wealth building for the generations that come after us so that they can enjoy life as much as possible and have as much freedom as possible too. Let me know in the comments what you think about this, because I think for a lot of people, this is a huge mountain to get over, this mountain of disbelief. I think for a lot of my friends and a lot of the people I grew up with, it feels like that. It feels like wealth is for someone else, for someone in a completely different situation, and it's just not for us. It's not an option. And I think what I want to point out is that it is an option, or at least it's a better option than we think. Because even if you don't like these numbers, if you disagree with the way I did it or how I did it, or you find an error in my math, let's say I'm wrong and we cut it in half. Let's say instead of having a net worth of 1.55 million, you have a net worth of only 700,000. That's still really awesome. That's still 4 times what the average American net worth is. That would also be incredible. Also, if you have any questions about what I said, or something was unclear, or you don't understand the terms that I said, then go ahead and leave me a question in the comments. It's really fun actually getting to have little conversations with you guys, so feel free to leave me a comment. Also, if this video made you think, if this video made you potentially challenge the way that you've been raised, or the mantras that were brought up with your kind of lifestyle and your family and your house, that, you know, riches are from other people, that no one can build wealth, you have to win the lottery, or you have to be born as Bill Gates' daughter or something like that, and it challenged that belief, then I'd really appreciate just a like on the video video, because that actually helps me out a lot. It tells YouTube the video wasn't terrible. And if you think it could be an interesting conversation starter for your family or your friends, send them the video too. Let me be the strange person who brings up this crazy concept so you don't have to do it. I so appreciate all of you guys watching. I so appreciate all you new subscribers who took the time to give me a vote of confidence and say, we'll subscribe to you because we hope and we anticipate and we expect that you'll bring us value in the future. There's a lot more to come. I've got 95 videos in the queue to make, so stay tuned. 2021 is going to be the biggest year yet. Thank you guys for watching. Bye.